Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back again to SRC 501 Sport Communication. So we are back again after 2 weeks and I'm not sure how many days of public holiday. So selamat Hari Raya everyone. I hope it's not too late to wish everyone a happy Idul Fitri. I hope that everyone are in a good condition and good shapes. I hope that everyone are in because I am not in a good one. Okay, but today we're going to continue our lecture for mediated communication and media literacy. So, as um, as a sport management student or as a human, okay, we need to know what are the things, what are the mediated communication forms that we use in order to communicate. Because most of us nowadays we're not only using face-to-face method, but we are also using other methods of as a communication forms. Okay, and then we also need to know the media literacy. This is very important because you guys are going to be working in the industry and you guys are going to have interactions with almost everyone. So media literacy is one of the important factors that you need to know and understand. So without further ado, let us begin. Right? So before we start, these are the things that you should know. Why are you considering mediated communication? Why do you need to know this? First, it helps you to think critically about the messages that the media sends to us because, as I said earlier, in the previous chapter, sometimes things that we think are good things might not be good things, and those that we think are reality might not be the reality. So sometimes we have to be very selective in the news or in the information that were given to us. So we need to be very selective. So mediated communication, after we understand about the mediated communication, we can think critically about the messages that have been sent to us. Number two, it helps us to become a thoughtful media consumer. This means that we are going to be someone that is very thoughtful because we are going to screen the information given by the media to us. Okay, not everything are right, but not everything are also wrong. So we have the chance to screen out the things that we need and what we doesn't need. Okay. So what is mediated communication? Well, it is a use of electronic messages to create meaning. Okay, we use electronic messages to create meaning. It is a linear in nature. Okay, and communication flows usually are from the sender to the receiver with little or no feedback. Because, for example, if you're using a television as a forms of mediated communication, then the messages is linear, which means that it is a one-way communication, and the feedback towards that news or that kind of information from the television will have a very slow feedback or might be no feedback at all. Okay, so that is what it meant by the mediated communication. By understanding the mediated communication, you need to know also mass communication. We have discussed this in, if I'm not mistaken, in chapter 1 and 2. So mass communication is a process where the professional communicator is using all the technologies to share the messages over great distance to influence a large amount of audience. So we are using a technology to send out the information to a large number of audience. Okay, so the definition by Wilson and Wilson, they mentioned that mass communication is a process where the professional communicators use the technology to share messages over a great distance to influence a large audience. So basically these two are same. Okay, I'm not sure why I'm putting it all together because this is the definition by Wilson and Wilson about mass communication. So as you can see, mentioned earlier, stated by the Wilson and Wilson, it is where mass communication is where a professional communicator tries to reach a large number of audience by sharing the information in the use of the technology. So the sources can be the source of conveying the messages can be through television, newspaper, reporter, an author, or an announcer. So This is where you need to understand mass communication, meaning that you have a mass number of audience. So sometimes it will be very difficult like to call like every single one, because sometimes you don't have the information about the audience. So basically, you need to send out the information. For example, now we have a COVID-19 situation. So we are trying to change from the PKP to PKPP, and then now we have PKPP. So in order to spread out the information, the government are using the technology to spread out the information. You can you can have a live telecast, live streaming. You can also watch it in a television. It was also appeared in the Facebook live, and then you can stream it. And then if you miss that out, you can have the text of speech, which being sent through the telegram of MKN. So this is what it meant by using the channel of communication in order to spread out the information. Okay, so next we have computer mediated communication. So computer mediated communication, or CMC, is a human to human interaction by using a network computer environment. So this is the definition by Schaaf, Martin, and Gay, 2001. So it is interactive, like what we're having right now. So we are having, for example, we have a Google Meet meeting, and then we have this online emailing, or we have an interactive chat through the social media, or even we are having a conversation in a WhatsApp application. So this is what it meant by the computer mediated communication, because we are using this computer or a technology mediated forms of communication, and it is a two-way communications. Okay, you are both a sender and receiver, because there is a feedback, because we can send the information and we can get a reply, and then we can reply back. So this is where we are becoming both sender and receiver at the same time. Okay, so what are mass media? So mass media is a channel or forms of medium that serve a variety of purposes. For example, to inform us, to persuade us, and to entertain. We usually watch a concert, or we even watch a news conferencing. So this is the what we call the purposes of mass media. Okay, so mass media act as our source of information. So now let us compare between mass media. So this is newspaper. As you can see, the primary advantage is that it's considered as a time-tested, and it is a reliable source of information, because the reporter need to ask for a solid information, and there's also citations there. Okay, so it can be objective and editorialized coverage of an issue. The problem is that some more credible than others, so not as fast as the other mediums. Okay, might be a slow feedback medium, and also you got yesterday's news on today's newspaper, so the news is a little bit slow. TV and radio, so the primary advantage is because it is perhaps the most fastest, but the primary problem, because sometimes the news can be inaccurate, so that will be a problem. Too fast spread news can also be inaccurate, sorry, so that will be the primary problem. News magazine, so we have in-depth coverage of an important national interest, but it has a slower sources, because they were less frequently published, and people need to like write a very in-depth information about that particular thing. So that's why it will be um, slower sources. Okay, the internet, fast and readily accessible, that is a primary advantage. Well, the primary problem is that we don't have editorial control and accountability, because everyone can write, everyone have access to internet, so every one of us can be reporters. So that will be the problem, the primary problem. Okay, professional journal, well, is a good sources of information, because you have editorial boards to review the articles, but the problem is that they are written for a specialized audiences, and they often use jargon which is hard to understand for an ordinary person, because Sometimes this is where you use it for your research or for your study. So professional journal is written for a specialized audience. Okay. Next we have, these are the effects of mass media. So it can influence behavior. It can be negative or positive, and it helps in shaping the culture because the people are depend on the mass media to inform them. Because that is why sometimes this mass media can be the reason on that particular culture in a country. A racism happens because of the media, because they spread the information, they spread the news, and sometimes what they're spreading is actually build out the racism spirits in that particular person. So that is what it meant by the effects of mass media. It can be negative and it can be also positive. Gatekeeping. So the mass media determine what kind of news, information, or entertainment that will reach the mass audiences. Okay. Agenda setting. So the media select select an issues or an agenda to becoming a significant issues in the mind of the public. Because for example, right now we are focusing on the COVID-19, and we're not forgetting, but the issues that become less um, less focused than the COVID-19. For example, now we have the the current news is Black Lives Matters. We have an issues of terrorists. We have an issues of Palestinian. So, but these are all issues have been less focused due to the COVID-19. Now people are focusing on the COVID-19. So that is agenda setting. Perpetuating perpetuating the stereotypes. Well, we perpetuated these stereotypes. We create, not we, the mass media can influence or create stereotypes. Okay. And cultivating the perceptions where we the mass media leads people to perceive and to believe what had been portrayed in a television. For example, if that particular television is portraying on a Muslim as a terrorist, so people around the world will believe that Muslim is a terrorist. So cultivating perception. Right, so still talking about computer mediated communication, CMC. In 1990s, the CMC had become a common communication tools. Well, they have numerous forms. So two types of CMC is synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is where members of the communications able to interact in real time, and each participant is simultaneously a sender and receiver, which means there are two ways of communication. While asynchronous is where the communication has delays, and each participant must take turn in becoming the sender and receiver. For example, if you're using email, so this is considered as asynchronous because you send an email and you have to wait for about maybe 10 minutes, an hour, or a day, or even a week, a month, a year in order to get a reply. So asynchronous means that you're not you have to take turn in becoming the sender and the receiver. So this is the 5 types of common CMC used, which is first is instant messaging, IM. Before this we have Yahoo Messenger, Gmail also have Gmail Messenger, and then we have audio video conferencing, like what we use in order to connect people from Furlis to Shah Alam. Okay, audio video conferencing. Multi-user environments where you're having fantasy role playing. For example, you're playing PUBG or you're playing Mobile Legends. So that is multi-user environment. And then you have electronic mail or email. This one is you're very familiar with it. Okay. And then we have bulletin board system. text-based asynchronous communications that allow you to disseminate information to large number, for example, like Padlet. So that is what we call as bulletin board system. Okay. So the CMC communication process. The CMC allow people to communicate on a personal level. Then CMC communication environment is less detailed, but it's stronger than those formed in a result of face-to-face, because you can have evidence or proof on what you're saying or you're communicating on. Okay, so by using CMC, we although it has a less detail, but it has a stronger form of a result, because people can read it all over again to understand the messages that have been sent. Okay, the digital divide is growing gap between those who has access to technology and those who doesn't. For example, like doing this ODL right now, if you're having a good access of internet, then you can get this information very clear. But for those who lives in somewhere which doesn't have any network or doesn't have any access to internet, so this will be a problem because they can't reach this information. Okay, so this is what it meant. Right, and CMC versus face-to-face. So CMC does not allow a full display of nonverbal behavior to be utilized. Of course, like what I'm doing right now, I have disabled my video cam, so you can only listen to my voice, but you can't see my nonverbal behavior such as my body gesture. You can't see my face expressions. Maybe right now I'm talking like I'm very happy enjoying this class, but maybe I am not in a good mood. So this is what it meant. So CMC does not allow this full display of nonverbal behavior. Okay, CMC is more dependent on interpretations of the written word. Okay, sometimes this will be focusing on email. Okay, we are focusing on email, so we are depending on the capabilities or the abilities of that person to write. If that person have very bad writing skills, this will affect the this will affect the way to understand about what they are trying to say. So even though right now I'm not uh, I'm not enabling my video cam, I hope that everyone can understand it through my voice and my explanation. Okay, now we are going for media literacy. So the mass media blur distinctions between the news and the entertainment. While the mass media both entertain and inform, so viewer must understand on how to interpret mediated messages. Okay, sometimes because we know that the purpose of media is to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. So as a viewer, you need to understand which one of the information is an important information, or it was just in a matter of entertainment. Okay, so Gertner 2000 stated that the media credited with developing television theory suggests the following. First, develop an understanding of how mediated messages are created, recognize the motives behind the media, and understand the images found in the media contains of values and ideologies. Each one of the informations, or each one of what we call issues that have been raised up by the media, they have their own values and ideologies. So you, as a viewer, you need to understand this, and you need to tell yourself that I need to understand this in a point of actually what are the things that the media want to say. Okay, so by understanding this, you'll become a literate media user. All right, so this is the point just now in a very bigger picture for you to understand. You need to understand first. Okay, this channel, or this slot of this content of this media, what are the main issues that have been focusing on. For example, you're watching Bersamamu. Bersamamu is a charity slot in Media Prima TV3. So by understanding that Bersamamu is a charity slot, you can understand that all the videos, all the footage, all the um, sounds, the background music is purposely pointed in order to create an environment to make people understand about this is about charity. You can see the differences of background music selections for each slot displayed in television. So by understanding this, you will become a literate media user. So I hope that everyone can understand this chapter and become a literate media user, and you can choose mediated form of communications that you want to use in order for you to communicate. Stay connected, but do not cross the line. Okay, know where you stand and know what you stand for. So I hope that everyone have a good day. I wish you all the best and see you in the next class. Assalamualaikum.